ago, maybe a little bit more. There's just a couple of bubbles in the floor, and has progressed into a pretty significant deformity in the floor. And now we're starting to get, as these pictures very well illustrate, we're now starting to get failure of the floor as opposed to just bubbles forming underneath it. And I use the term bubble only in what its appearance is, and not maybe factual, because it's very solid under the tiles. It's not a hollow bubble. When you bang on it, it does not sound hollow. This issue runs almost entirely the length of that hallway. It is, as I mentioned, weirdly, on one side of the hallway, we have left the COVID tape down because mainly of fear of removing it, that it'll actually dislodge tiles in the process. We have not seen this issue in some of the hallways, or in some of the areas that this hallway feeds into. There's carpeted areas, there's areas with VCT immediately around it. But largely the issue is in the hallway. We have seen this issue in a few other areas around the building, but this is the largest concentration of it. We made a couple of repairs about a year ago, and while they did work okay, the problem is still continuing to grow. And the repairs that we made were not here. They were in the building, the gym building. They kind of got us over the hump, but we are still seeing the problem come back. This area, underneath it is an open space, very damp, has standing water in it. The standing water is underneath the stage, and so they're in pretty close proximity where we are here to the stage. But I think talking with Chris Nixon, a lot of the goal of tonight was just sort of to educate, or to at least get the information out there to EFPBC as to what's kind of going on. As I said, we've seen some of these issues in E1. We have a couple of areas in E1. Again, nothing as drastic as this. And we have one area at the where A1 joins the cafeteria. That is a ceramic tile that we're having an issue with, one particular line of tile. But this is definitely becoming a priority very quickly. It has gotten progressively worse this year during the school year, pretty rapidly, actually, more so than what we were seeing before, as it was just starting to grow. I think that's probably the bulk of the overview of this. If folks have questions on it or anything else you'd like me to kind of touch on.
Chris, can you, and I apologize, I dropped off only for a second. Did you touch on reaching out to a contractor and that they may be coming in to take a look?
I did not. We have reached out to one contractor, one flooring contractor. I have made contact with them, and I'm waiting for an appointment for them to send somebody out to at least start the process of a recommendation, turns into proposal, turns into something else, but at least to start, maybe trying to get a handle on it. But I have been in contact with one vendor.
Okay, Mike has a question also.
Yeah, Chris, what's the substrate under this?
Concrete.
It's concrete. And yeah. Have you peeled up any tiles?
We have not. I honestly have been a little weary of and leery of doing that, just for starting a snowball. It has everything so far and that's what I mean by it's weird. It looks like a bubble, but it's not a bubble. There's material underneath it, whether it's leveler or, and the whole sandwich is lifting together, not the tile from a leveler, but maybe that whole prep from the concrete itself. Because it is pretty solid. We had talked, I think, a little bit about it. when there was a small group there looking at the gym, we had talked about it a little bit, and maybe doing that, but with somebody to, whether it's the contractor that I was working with or somebody else.
Yep, to patch it when you need
Yeah.
to. And you said there's open space underneath it, so it's like a basement or a crawl space.
Yeah, it's crawl
something?
space. It's ventilated crawl space, but it is only ventilated under very certain conditions. So when it's very cold outside, it's not ventilating because you'd be bringing all that cold air into that moisture, and then you'd have condensate there. And when it's very warm outside, warm and humid, again, it is not being ventilated because you'd be bringing warm, humid air into a cooler environment. So it really only ventilates for a select spread of temperature and humidity.
Okay, thanks. That is quite a mystery.
Chris has a question, and then Don.
Yeah, I just want to offer a couple of thoughts. What's very curious here, Mark, and everybody else, is that the swelling of the floor is not happening just 2 feet away, like in the guidance offices or in the nurse's office where you have carpet. So it's happening where you have the VCT and where we think there was some cementitious floor leveler used. It typically, if this was just a humidity problem, I would expect to see the tiles lifting because they're not adhering anymore. But I would not expect to see the swelling of the floor. And one thing that I just keep coming back to in my mind is the cementitious leveler is naturally hydroscopic, not hydrophobic. And I wonder if one did not mix, if one mixes the leveler a little lean, that is like with not quite enough water, and then you put it down and you put down the flooring, because it's a high humidity environment, that over time is it possible that the floor leveler is sort of more water vapor, and that's changing the volume of the leveler. There's just it's a complete mystery. And the point in sort of having Chris come here tonight was to make the EFPBC aware of it. We don't know yet what the solution or solutions are, so we have no idea what the costs are. There might be an opportunity to address this with project funds, but it's premature to know that. And I think this investigation will be very helpful because this is something Frank and I are going to talk to the school committee about next week. We're beginning to run down the list of future capital asks. And depending upon what the nature of the fix is, this might actually turn out to be more appropriately a capital planning request, but we just don't know yet. So we just kind of wanted to make the EFPBC aware that this is going on. And hopefully, when Chris has more information, he can bring it back to us.
We have Don and then Emily. Don?
Yeah, just a couple thoughts. There might be a significant enough delta T between the hallway and the offices. The offices would be a lot warmer, and thus, there may be a different impact versus what's happening out in the hallway. How big is the area underneath that is being impacted? I mean, would it be possible? Would we need to insulate that somehow to protect it from the moisture to prevent this problem from happening in the future?
It's the area itself is quite large. The open area itself is quite large. It is a concrete base, and as I mentioned before, the area is ventilated, but only under certain conditions.
Yeah, I got that. Did you look at the other pieces, the other areas that you repaired a year ago? Did you do any investigation of their condition?
We did not do any kind of extensive. We had a contractor just come out to do a few what we thought at the time was just a few floor patches.
Yeah.
From potentially defects. It was after the repairs were made that it started to look like this might have been a bigger picture item, and then started focusing on it in that light.
Okay.
Emily?
I just wanted to point out that without peeling back the carpet, you might not know that there's issues under there as well. Carpet's a lot more forgiving on the eyes than VCT. So I just wouldn't write that off. If you have someone coming to look at it, I'd probably also try to take a look at the carpet too.
It's sort of weird, but where in the pictures, where the damage is, most of the floors to the right of that are painted or like there's electric rooms and storage rooms.
Mhm.
And then you have the gray line, and then you have an area of floor that's largely pretty, solid. And then on the other side of that is where you have carpeted and VCT areas, combination of both. Guidance has carpet in it, nurse's office has VCT. And I just recently thought I felt something in the auditorium, which is carpeted, just by walking on it. But I have definitely walked around there looking for it, not just walking through and, I didn't feel anything, but have definitely kind of, baby stepped it through the place looking for, that feeling and not getting it. And here it's you could see in that right picture, it's pretty consistent through the hallway. It's not just a random bubble here and there. So that's what I have for right now. Like I said, I hope to speak to this vendor relatively soon. I have spoke to them once already yesterday. And once we can get an on-site appointment and get somebody out, maybe start formulating a little something, I'll bring it back to you.
Okay. Thank you for the update, Chris.
Sure.
All right. Why don't we jump back and get the meeting minutes out of the way? We have one set, for, Don, correct? One set for April 24th. Is that it?
Yeah, hang on. I'm on mute. Hang on. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Has everyone had a chance to review them?
Chris had some comments that incorporated minor,
Yep.
but got them.
We get a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Is that Frank?
I'll take the motion. Chris can take the second.
Okay.
You got it. Good.
All right, we'll do a roll call and get this out of the way. So we have Frank, Lisa's not present. Brian? Okay, Todd?
Aye.
John?
Yes.
Thank you. Colleen?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And I don't see John Miller, so Don
Yes.
and Emily.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the Lynch. We're going to hand it over to Andy, who has a presentation.
Andy, you're good to share.
And Andy, as you're pulling that up, I just want to remind the committee, you can find Hill's monthly project budget summaries on the project drive. They're not buried in any subfolder. So when you jump into the main project drive, I think it's actually called OPM monthly budget summaries or something pretty obvious. So you'll find them there, the one that Andy's about to present, as well as the previous ones.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, let me zoom in. So not much has changed since the last month. And so what we accomplished last month was the move RFP, trying to move the student into the swing space. We put that move our RFP out on the street as of today. It's on the central register. So we're going to get the proposal back probably in like about a little bit over 2 weeks from now. We also have the contractor on board for the Parkhurst upgrade. I believe we going to have a kickoff meeting with them tomorrow. So for next month, milestone would be the pre-qualification, getting contractor pre-qualification, design team continue with their 60% contract document. We're looking for them to finish their contract document around May 23rd, and that will be sent to the two cost estimator, PMNC and AM Fogarty. and we'll continue. So let them start the cost estimate, and we're expecting to get the cost estimate done probably in around mid to the end of June for reconciliation. And then our target is to submit to the MSBA the 60% package at the end of June. So it's going to be a similar process. Once the document is done, we will share with the committee, and you guys can also, share, review, and provide us comments. At the same time, Hill and the commission agent will look at the document as well. As I mentioned, there's not much on the budget except for we got the Parkhurst modular PCO5 for a credit of $51,000. I don't think we have anything new on the budget. So for the cash flow side, we're very close, but it's not going to be much until when we start getting the contractor on board in November. Right now, our cost contingency remain the same as 6.7 million. Soft cost right now where we are is we have about 516,000 left on soft cost contingency. So a little bit an update. We met with the MSBA today with the design team and the core team from Winchester, and we provided an update. We confirmed that there's no change in the scope, except for we're going into more detail that we just finished a DD, and we confirmed the schedule. We confirmed that the bidding schedule, that also we're going out to bid in October and start construction in December. So and then the MSBA provided their usual update that what's happening in the next phase, and they're reminding us to do pro-pay on a monthly basis, and also talking about what's going to happen in construction and the change order review process, which is once a month, and actually and quality based, and we have to submit to them the change order log once a month. They mentioned about closeout, which it's a lengthy process, usually take them a year. It's a usual MSBA update, but there isn't anything major. So I think that's where I am. I'm going to turn over to Meg to talk about the modular.
We have two questions that might pertain to the summary first. Mark, do you want to, and then Chris?
Yeah, two unrelated questions. One is, Andy, you had mentioned they're unrelated to each other, but related to what Andy just presented. Sorry. Question number one is, do you have who you need for the pre-qualification subcommittee? You had mentioned that last time, but that you needed 2 members of EFPBC. That's
correct. Yep. So Mass General Law, Chapter 149 require that we have to do pre-qualification, and we need at least a minimum of 2 members from the owner side. 1 member from the OPM and 1 member from the design team.
Yep. Do you have those people?
No, we're going to put out an email, Mark, and see who wants to do it.
Just wanted to make sure that we weren't missing something there.
Right.
And then the second is, Andy, I understand that the project is on budget, which is great, and MSBA is satisfied with that, which is also great. I understand the pedestrian bridge is an add alternate. So and that's below the line. So is there a method for getting that into the project budget without us undergoing some kind of cost management exercise?
We did talk to, we didn't mention that to the MSBA today, but we did talk to the design team. So our strategy is that we will, we're going to do the cost estimate where to see where we are at the 60 and also at the 90%. And I mean, because I think during schematic design, we carry like, I don't think around 600 and $50 per square foot for the construction cost. And I think, see where we are with the market. I think we can probably, at the time we can adjust it into the project. I think, if we're under the budget, I think the project probably can absorb it. And we can, at that time, we can, strategize how we should do it.
Okay, I just want to make sure that there's a strategy for if the project isn't under budget, that there's a way to include that piece of the project, which may be more difficult. So
yeah, we just bid the Concord Middle School project. We just got the bid 2 days ago, and it came in $2 million under, and it's a chapter 149.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm happy to hear it. I just want to make sure that there's a plan if that's not the case for this project, and there's a path forward to include that in the project scope.
Chris, you had a question?
Yeah, I did, but just real briefly, Andy, is that Concord project, did you say that's CM at risk or not?
No, it's 149 design.
Oh, great. Okay, that's wonderful news. Yeah, so Andy, and maybe this is part of the segue you were expecting Meg to talk about, but we have hit some ledge. We've got some ledge removal issues up there on the site and some trucking and removal issues, and I understand that civil engineer has kind of evaluated whether the invert elevation on the drainage needs to be adjusted as well. So are you in that project summary, and I'm driving tonight, so I can't see it, but are you encumbering, Andy, in your project summary, budget summary, the costs associated with some of these other new items, or was that something you're waiting until we kind of discuss that tonight? And I don't know if it's you or Meg or Mark that needs to sort of describe to the committee what's going on.
So usually, if something that is approved by the committee, then we will encumber it. And also that's another thing that I asked the MSBA today, if they need, change order for the modular for the swing space, and they don't need it. So we usually, want something that is approved by this committee, and we have a signed change order in hand, then we'll update that right away. But we'll try to be current. We work directly with Meg, and that's why he'll attend the weekly meeting, try to get any cost into our budget, so that way we don't lag behind on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And we will continue with the Parker's upgrade as well. We'll involve in the meeting, so we don't miss anything related to budget. Sorry, Matt, go ahead.
No, that's okay. So moving into the next item, I think it's Triumph update. So we have, as Chris and we talked about it last meeting, we have run into a lot of ledge up there. We have finally, it took a while, took a couple weeks. We were able to relocate, get rid of as much ledge as was possible to relocate the system so that it functions the way that it was originally intended. So the system is in, and now we are removing ledge, from the site, which is another additional cost. But if we move forward with that and get the ledge out of there by the end of the week, they can start putting down the binder next week and the week after. So that's good news. They're still on schedule to get the modulars delivered in the middle of June. And the reason why we really want to get this parking lot going and finished is that's where they're going to be stored. They're going to be put there when they get delivered until they get moved down below. So so there was quite a delay there, but we're getting caught back up on the schedule. And then I'll get into the change orders in a second, but as Andy said earlier, as you voted last week, Homework Contracting is the bidder on the Parkhurst. We do have a pre-construction meeting tomorrow, And they submitted a schedule today. I actually didn't have a chance to look at it, but they are raring and ready to go. So that's good news. They can get right out and get working. We're gonna have to coordinate with Andrew and Frank and his team because preschool will still be in session. But we can make that work. So that's good news. I don't know exactly when they'll get started there, but we do have the pre-con tomorrow.
I think their schedule said they were going to start around May 17th or something like that, May 16th.
Okay, great.
And then they have a completion date of June, the first week in August.
Good, nice. That's perfect.
Who was the company again, Meg?
Homer Contracting.
Homework? Okay.
I think they're
Oh, Homer.
painters.
Homer, okay.
I think they're
Yeah,
painters.
they typically bid on painting projects, but they are a general contractor as well. They obviously they don't do large scale projects like a school building or anything, but they're well equipped to be a GC. And basically this project was the filed subbidders. So, and painting, you know, which they'll own. You know, when I called their references, they've done quite a bit of work, which I was actually shocked about because I've only used them as painter. But they have done quite a few projects across the state, you know, over the past 10 years, and all the references came back fine. So, but as you know, they were expensive, but that's the last of my update. If we want to go over the changes now, we can.
Sure.
Okay. So related to Triumph, we have 4 PCOs that have to be approved tonight. And 2 of them are for ledge removal. One is a credit we are going to leave the infiltration system in place when this project is done, when the parking lot gets pulled out and we put loam and seed and grass in the playfield back there. We are going to leave the system in place. So there's a credit for that. And then there's another PCO tonight to approve, which is for additional backfilling. So this was, you know, this was a really frustrating exercise of let's dig here, let's dig here. So they ended up having to dig and take out quite a bit of ledge to come to find out that it wasn't going to fit the whole system in, that we had to move a different way. We worked very closely the whole time with Michelle from Niche and the assistant town engineer to make sure that we could use the pipes that had already been delivered, that we could fit the system in and make it work. So it's been a very expensive endeavor, but we've gotten through it. We do have one more change order proposal that'll be coming to you at the next meeting for the hauling off of all this ledge that we found. So when we go through the manager's letter, if someone could pull it up for me, then you can see the numbers for all the costs. The other spending authorizations that we have tonight are related to sort of the HVAC work that needs to happen in the modulars and in the Parkhurst. Andrew has spent quite a bit of time getting quotes from vendors to install a phone system, to remove the AV equipment from the current Lynch School and reinstall it over in the modulars and the Parkhurst, and then the installation of the someone has to remind me what that is. WAPs.
Wireless access points.
Thank you. Thank you. And then the one more item will be coming from Andrew. He's getting some pricing on movable cubbies. Instead of having Triumph build the cubbies or install cubbies against the walls, we're looking at buying them. Therefore, then when the project's over, we don't have to make any repairs to the modulars, and they can be reused by the school district in the future. That price, Andrew hasn't gotten prices on that yet, but I suspect he will next week when he returns.
Okay.
You got
You
to
want to
spend
touch on the Wellfield update if there's no questions for Meg?
Oh yeah, So I've been working with VHB and Niche, and all of our, we'll be completing all the information that's necessary for MIPA by Friday. And there's no issue with meeting that deadline. We then have a meeting scheduled with VHB to review all that information, make any clarifications for them the following week, the week of the 8th. And then VHB will finalize the package and submit it on the 31st. So we're in really good shape for meeting our MIPA deadline, which is critical. Critical to getting that final certificate. So we feel pretty good about it. And VHB has been in contact with MIPA along the way, asking a few questions. And so far, everything seems to be working in our favor. So that's good.
Okay. Any questions for Meg? All right. So we'll move on to Charlie's presentation for the Lynch.
Do we want to approve the, any of the?
Well, it's all in the letter, so maybe we can do the letter all as one. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, there's a lot of items on there.
Or you want to
Does that
do it
work,
now?
Meg?
The letter has 4 payment authorizations. One is for Triumph for $250,895.96. That's their application number 4. An invoice for VHB, $20,900. Invoice for Hill for $38,962.50. Invoice for Tape for $308,000. The spending authorizations are for Harbor Cloud, which is the phone system, for $19,295.49. Pro AV for the removal and installation of the AV equipment for $35,614. And LCN Network for the installation of the wireless access points for $22,383.48. I will just remind you that Andrew did go through a procurement process for that, and these are the lowest costs, that he found for those. Then there are the 4 change order proposals for Triumph, which Andy, when this meeting, not tonight, but I will turn these into change order number 2 for Triumph, just for your record. And that's everything related to the Lynch School. I do have one spending authorization that I need approval for tonight for the Winchester High School roof review. I don't know if John will remember this, but we had hired SG&H to do all of our review and analysis of all the work that was being proposed by Consigli and their subconsultants or subcontractors rather. So they never got me any amendment paperwork, like it took over a year. Finally, they submitted it to me. So I need to amend their contract to include all the services that they have performed for us, and they're done now, in the amount of $28,567.50.
Okay. I move we authorize the town manager to pay the Lynch School invoices as listed in her memo of May 3 to the committee, to approve her spending authorizations for Lynch School and to approve the Winchester High School spending authorization for the roof amendment number 3.
Second.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, roll call. Frank?
Aye.
Brian?
Yes.
Todd?
Aye.
In favor. John?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
You have Tom. Emily?
Yes.
All right, that passed. Thank you, Meg.
Thank you.
Quick question, Andy, you're going to track all these on your budgets afterwards, right? As the categories they come out of?
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Okay, we'll move back to Charlie on the Lynch.
Okay, I'm going to share a screen, I hope. There's our customary page. So I'm going to go through the things that are on my agenda that are listed on the, if I can figure out how to advance my slides. There we go. Okay, so first on the agenda was project meetings. This was just to give a heads up, sort of an update on where we are. We did have a department heads meeting last week, which was helpful. Engineering was there, sustainability was there, health, conservation, Department of Public Works, town manager, Meg obviously chaired it. And that was informational. We got a little bit of feedback, although not anything particularly dramatic to report. Most of the people involved in that meeting had been to previous meetings like this, but certainly no one raised any red flags. There was some useful information shared, but we're just going to proceed. We do need upcoming to do a few more meetings. There is a sustainability subcommittee meeting coming next week. There's a district meeting on outdoor spaces to look at sort of playgrounds and the like with the landscape architect next week. We are looking to schedule a kitchen meeting with our food services consultant and the food services vendor and health department, hopefully for the week of the 15th. Once Andrew's back, he was going to organize that. And then we do have a couple other ones we need to follow up on. We certainly need to have another security meeting with the district and our security consultant. And we also think we need to meet with the fire department, who we've shared information with in the past, but just to be more specific about precise hydrant locations, alarm systems, and the like. So we want to get those organized fairly soon. But anyway, those are just sort of ongoing activities for the project. Site plan revision. So at the last meeting, we talked about the updated site, and you all felt comfortable proceeding with it. So that is the direction that we've taken. So this is the plan you saw previously. No changes to this. There were questions about the stormwater management and civil design. We don't obviously, Niche has not been able to catch up with this yet. So they clearly don't have a defined and fully sort of fleshed out civil design associated with this configuration yet. But they did present this slide at the department head meetings, and I figured I'd share it just so you saw kind of conceptually what they're talking about. So if you look at the area that we've modified, it has the blue box, which is the underground infiltration, which is consistent with what we had done previously under the parking lot. And then we have those yellow areas, and those yellow areas are intended as surface drainage bioretention areas. And the precise grading of those and the precise configuration of those and the precise size of those is underway. But I think, as I had said at that previous meeting, in principle, they're very comfortable they can make all of this work. But this sort of showed conceptually too where we were with, you know, major utilities running through the site, because we have that big highway of utilities that runs all the way across the site, east to west or west to east. But so that was just to share with you what they shared with the department heads as a kind of diagram. So worked on now, and hopefully will kind of come into more focus in the coming weeks. So if there's no question, that of course shows you the FEMA map, floodplains and the brook, and this continues to show you the riverfront area and the wetland area. So with that, the only other thing I had on my agenda was the energy model update. We did issue a preliminary report last week. It came back with comments that we then integrated into a second draft, which went out this afternoon. That second draft is still a draft because it has within it there's an appendix which the district asked for to break down to further parse kind of use in terms of energy use, in terms of off hours versus school hours, monthly, et cetera. They've developed the bones of that, but have not inputted any data into it yet, pending approval by the district. And I guess the district's also going to update some of the data that they had previously provided relative to hours of use. So once we get that back, we can ask Andelman and Lalick to update that as well. So it continues to be a working document, but it's coming together. And there was also a slight glitch between our solar consultant and the energy modelers relative to the PV output. That was clarified. That's now in the updated report. So all of that's coming together. We expect to have more clarity on that in the coming weeks once we have all this information gathered. In addition to that, Zapotec is going to issue the last kind of product. I mean, obviously they did do, as all of you who saw the drawings know, they did a fairly extensive set of drawings for the DD set relative to base contract solar as well as future solar. But they have never kind of reissued their report from sort of schematic or even feasibility level. So they're going to do a kind of updated executive summary. And that is going to just kind of characterize where we are in terms of solar. And that's coming hopefully tomorrow or Friday. That's their goal. But the report is encouraging. I think we're hitting our targets. We're hitting our goals at the moment in terms of, on paper anyway, and in terms of where we are in this progression. Our EUI is under the 25 target. And in terms of mass save, which is where the rubber really hits the road, because we want to get that Path 1 grant, the EUI for that purpose is 24.3, because they don't include exterior lighting. We're at 16 points in lead for the energy performance credits, as long as we have the base solar, which is in the base bid already, which is over the outdoor classrooms. And we're at 36.4% savings over MSBA stretch code, energy code baseline, which is part of the MSBA, is also part of the MSBA's 2 additional incentive points for energy efficiency. So it all looks very encouraging and very positive. And as I said, we seem to be hitting our goals. And really the three metrics really are the lead, the MSBA's contribution, and the Path 1 contribution in terms of where we really need to be. So that's where we are with the energy model. And that now I think you all, or whoever wants it, can have it. But it is again a draft. So. Colleen?
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, thank you for the presentation on that. And I know you talked about in the meeting section that we're having a meeting to review the energy model. So for folks that are not part of the sustainability subcommittee and want to be a part of that meeting, just email me and I'll make sure that you get the invite for that. So just thanks, Charlie.
Yep. And I think that does it for me, Jay, unless anybody has any questions about anything I presented. Oh, Chris has.
Chris has a question, yeah.
Just a little public service announcement. So the updated report from Andelman and Lalick is on the subcommittee, in the subcommittee folder for that group, but it has also been uploaded for anybody on the EFPBC who wishes to review it. You can find it under module 6, since that's kind of where we are right now with design development. So it's in a couple of places. It's there as a PDF. And once the Zapotec report comes in, we'll do something similar, but once that's actually parked somewhere and we know where it is, we'll send out a link to everybody. You can enjoy your bedtime reading.
Thank you, Chris. I just want to also add that there's a lot of comments going back and forth about the PV once purchasing versus a PPA, and our recommendations. Once we have a report from Zapatec, a high-level report that we can share with the school committee. We've already been invited by the chair to go and meet with them and discuss the options and discuss why we were looking one way versus the other. So we're really excited to get this report from Zapatec by the end of the week, we hope, and take it from there.
But again, it is not really a report. It's not a big voluminous thing. It is an executive summary.
Correct.
It's really the executive summary of critical findings, essentially.
Yep.
I mean, it's not going to talk about all the options. It's only talking about option C. It's going to just talk about, the various production, whether it's the base bid or further, et cetera, et cetera. It is not going to be a great elaborate report, I don't expect.
Right. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else for Charlie?
Well, I think there's one other item we were just going to touch on, the working group summary, right?
Yes.
And first of all, I just want to let everybody know it's there. I think Charlie's piece is done, so I'll just share this real quick. Everything's been uploaded to Google Drive, so you'll find it again under Module 6, sort of organized by sort of building technology, envelope, MEP, interiors, FF&E. So lots of comments here. It's about 18 pages worth of comments. And I think Charlie, we were looking for you to come back to us tonight and just say, based on what we gave you, and we did give you a live file, when do you feel like you and your team are in a position to get some responses back to us? That's a question for you, Charlie.
When do I think our team is going to get responses back? I'm not willing to commit. I mean, we've targeted potentially May 15th, but whether we'll make it or not, I'm not 100% sure.
That would be really quick, of course. And then we've got, the next meeting is in June.
Right. And if not, it will be sometime after, but it certainly would be in advance of June 5th.
Yeah.
Hey, just a point of correction, Charlie, your presentation just said May 23 on it instead of May 3.
Sorry.
Yeah, they want to correct that.
It did?
Yep.
Oh, it's the back. Yeah. So the front slide had it correct. The rear slide had it wrong. Sorry.
Okay. All right. It was the last thing I saw before you ended your presentation.
Right. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
We already did payments. Next meeting dates is the 15th of May, June 5th, and then we have to come up with a reschedule for the 19th. Since the town's closed. That would be.
The June 21st be an option for folks? It feels like we fall back on Wednesdays sometimes, like we're doing right now when we have a Monday conflict. That's the official meteorological beginning of summer, by the way.
I'm fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
So let's plan on that. Wednesday, June 21st.
Jay, I joined in at the very end. May I just ask one question? The asphalt drawing on the Parker's Field, it would be good to have it, maybe 20 years from now, they want to do something on that drainage for the MEG, the asphalt drawing, whatever they're doing now. Would that be something produced?
I don't know if they own an as-built. I'll have to see. I'll have to ask them.
Like 20 years from now, I don't know what they're going to do and they want to know, something like that. I would seriously take that into consideration.
Yeah, it's I'll have to see. I mean, I know they shot a lot of grades when they were trying to, fit the system in there with all the ledge, but I don't know if they have, shot enough grades to prepare an as-built, but I will
In
double
the
check.
hand sketch, whatever they're doing, Meg, I don't know whether it would be part of the field drawings or, wherever something is filed and somebody can look for it, something like
Yeah,
that.
no, I understand
Mhm.
what it is and what it's, the benefit of it. I just don't know now that they've backfilled and stuff. I don't know if they have.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'll
Yeah.
double check. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know if we would run into ledge for the modular footings now then? Just asking.
I didn't understand your question. I'm sorry.
Right, the modular footings, I know at the initial, they were going to set it on plate. Is it still the same scenario? Would they run into ledge for the footings, for the modulars?
I think it's being, it's on.
Okay.
It's
It
sitting
wouldn't
on
set on
top.
the ground.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, all right.
Mark had a question. Mark?
Yeah, just a quick request, Charlie, for Zapatec. The description of PV systems can be confusing sometimes because they're sized by AC output, by DC output, by annual energy consumption in kilowatt hours. I'm sure there are ones that I'm missing. If their executive summary can be clear, I think at least specifically about anticipated annual energy consumption or energy production, that would be super helpful just because that's kind of how the energy model tracks things. So we can see annual energy consumption relative to annual energy production more directly one-to-one. Also, when people talk about system sizes and they say, oh, this system is 750 kW or 500 kW, it would be helpful for me, whether included in the document or not, whether like what that actually refers to when it's describing the rating of a PV system.
Yes, they will do that most certainly because it has come up. And so
Awesome.
we are trying to clarify
Thank
all
you.
those the various nomenclature.
Awesome. Thanks.
Okay. Anyone else?
Happy to make a motion to adjourn.
All right, thank you, Chris. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mark. Frank?
Aye.
Brian?
Yes.
Todd?
Aye.
John?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
And Emily?
Yes.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Good night,
Good night.
everybody.
Talk to you on
Thank
the
you.
15th. Good night.